I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
Hello everyone, welcome to Creek Devil. We're going to be talking with Forrest and Jessica. They had a recent sighting again here shortly, but Tom, you want to make an announcement first?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and you guys know what to do. If you like the show, let us know. Click the like and subscribe. You guys know how to do that. And I want to thank all our new Patreons. We'll be putting a shout out in our description here shortly. But if you want to do that, you can go on YouTube. Just go to the description and click the link for Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a new subscriber to our Patreon account and become a supporter that way. Or just go to patreon.com/Creek Devil, and you can do it that way. With that said, Will, I'm going to hand the mic back to you.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody. We've asked people to hit the like button more for us so that the show will get out there, and that's been happening. So thanks, folks. We really appreciate that. It really helps the channel. We're not big YouTube people, so and of course this is for YouTube. It's not for the other platforms it shows out on, but for those who listen on YouTube, it's a big help, and it really helps get the show out there and seen on their algorithm. So having said that, Forrest and Jessica, fill us in on what happened.
Which of us would you like to go first? She had to walk out of the room because we were getting feedback on our phone.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. Whichever one of you wants to start first.
Well, I'll go ahead and start it off. We were having some issues with one of our horses that kept going over onto the neighbor's property, and we couldn't seem to get any cooperation out of them for fixing the fence, and I don't have the ability to put up fences, and we called everybody under the sun, to come out and help and try to get somebody that was a fence builder out here to help, and nobody wants to work, and so we were kind of in the situation where we kind of had to push come to shove and see what we could figure out. So we had decided that night that we were we'd already moved a couple of panels over there blocking that fence, and so that particular night we decided, well, we'll just take down this gate over here, and it was a 12-foot gate, and that'll cover a pretty good expanse, and then we had plans to get another panel at like the next day or so and put it across there too. So anyway, by the time I got home from work, I had to work till midnight, and Jessica got off at 10. She was already here. She'd already got the gate down and was just waiting there for me. Well, to start this whole thing off, when I got there, I saw her down at the bottom of the drive, and excuse me, I'm sorry. I walked up to the gate and was unlatching it, and I heard a bunch of noise in the brush there. Well, that kind of spooked me a little, so I hurried back to the car, drove through the gate, and then hurried back over and latched the gate again. And so went and jumped in my car and drove down to the bottom of the hill. And I said something to Jessica. I said, there was a bunch of noise up there in the brush. And I don't know. It didn't sound like deer to me because they don't usually make that much noise. So anyway, so I got down there, and we were going to move that panel over. So I go and help her with, I'm holding one end, she's holding the other end. We go through the gate and into the pasture, and we're headed out there to put this gate up so we can span that, cover that at least 12 feet of that expanse on the fence that's broken. And I might add here, what was really aggravating both of us is that the reason the fence was broken was because that my neighbor was fussing about was because his trees had come down on the fence and broke the top two lines of wire there. So it wasn't through any fault of ours, but the way they explained it to me was that they didn't have any livestock, so it didn't make any difference to them that the fence was broken. So we're left with the responsibility of trying to figure out how to, block this. And I really didn't need my horses going over there anyway. So anyway, we're headed out there, and we got about halfway over there, and all of a sudden I get this brilliant notion that, well, maybe I should take and I might add, when I got out there, Jessica had two of the spotlights there ready for us when we got out there, and she had handed me one. And so I thought, I better go check and make sure all the horses are actually in the pasture before we go blocking this, opening. So we didn't block in a horse or two, maybe over in their pasture. So I asked Jessica, I said, you think you're going to be okay? And because I knew if I left her that she was going to be standing there by herself. So here I go walking off, checking the horses. And actually they met me. I got about probably 30, 40 yards, and here they come. They were down on the other side of the pasture, and they saw me. So they came up, and we did a head count, and guess what? Everybody was there. So I come back, and I guess I'll let Jessica take over from here, because when I got back, she had her gun out. So Jessica, it's all yours now, honey.
Okay. So while she was going counting the horses, I had heard some rustling in the trees ahead of us, heading in the direction that we were about to go. So I actually, at that time, when she left, I had my hand on my gun just to be safe, because we do have illegals around here as well. So it's like, okay, let's make sure I'm safe, because we've had them come up and we had to have a gun on them just to have them leave. So I don't have the gun for Bigfoot. I have it for the illegals. But unfortunately, it's never the illegals.
I don't think it was illegal that night.
No, because after we had put the gate down there, because it was actually the first gate we put down there, because the second gate we had to use my truck with.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
So it's the first gate we put down there. And after we put it down there and got at least the wire temporarily stretched until we can get a more permanent or some more gates down there at the time. Well, on the way back, at the spot that I was actually standing in earlier, holding the gate, we actually had a rank smell. I described it as skunk wet dog, because it's a faded skunk stink mixed with wet dog.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way I described it. And it had not been there, when we were there before. There was no odor or anything, and it was exactly at the spot where she was standing there holding that gate while I went to count the horses. So we thought it actually it really kind of distressed both of us. So we very hurriedly came out of the pasture. So, and we came back up through the gate, came around, and we had come up to the first shed there, and one of the cats that we had actually put the cats up before we'd started all this, or Jessica had, before I'd even gotten home. And one of the cats that's supposed to go up, she all of a sudden suddenly appeared. So Jessica was actually putting that cat in the shed, and I don't even know what prompted me to do it, but I walked around the back corner of her truck, and I looked down towards the old house. And Jessica actually followed me immediately after she put the cat up, and she was almost directly behind me. And but I walked over there, and I just happened to glance down towards the barn, and that's when I was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And I clearly, well, let me explain briefly where the old house is, the burned shell of a house is. I have a pole light between it and the cabin, and that light, there is a big tree there, but the light comes filtering through the tree and actually comes up in front of the old house, probably maybe 10 or 12 feet. It has an area that it lights up there, and it's just the way the trees happen to, the foliage doesn't block the light in that particular area, and you can see, and I could clearly see something walking between, that had evidently come across in front of the old house from the direction of the pasture that we were just in, and walked. The silhouette, black silhouette of it, came right across in front of that space there, and then disappeared next to my butane tank. And I say disappeared only because that's where I did not see it anymore, because there's a lot of foliage around the butane tank there. And so it could have ducked in there and around and went behind that. I don't know. But you know what? I wasn't going to go down there. But Jessica can tell you, she saw it too.
I didn't see what it was. I just saw movement down there, and it's like, that spooked me even more because we were just over in that area. It's like, let's go.
Hey, Jessica. How
Yep.
big could you estimate the size of this thing with movement? Because I've seen that before too, and it's freaky. There's no other way around it. It's, something's there, and it's kind of spooky.
I'd say around 3-4 feet. Because it wasn't.
That's exactly what I saw too. I'd say between 3 and 4 feet.
So you think it's one of the toddlers?
Yeah, it was a little one. It was. In fact, I told Chuck that night. I think Chuck, I called you that night because we were freaked out. We were, and I mean, at that point in time, Jessica had her gun out, and we both kind of backed up, and then very hurriedly went in the house at that point in time. I mean, we weren't out there like, oh, we're going to go down there and wander around and see what it is. No, I had, you know what? At that point in time, I didn't give a damn what it was. I just, it obviously wasn't a person. And I think Jessica would agree with me there, unless somebody's 8 or 9-year-old kid is out wandering around at 1 o'clock in the morning, and school had already started. So I know that wasn't the situation. So,
well, and that foul smell too.
This kind of corresponds to the tracks you found just a month ago.
Yeah, exactly. It does.
Hey, Forrest, was the smell and the sighting in the same place, or were these two different places?
No, they were two different places. The smell we'd actually smelled out in the pasture, and then this was over by the old house. But you see, it was in a direct. The thing about it was that it was almost directly, like it had followed a path. It was directly, if it had followed a path from the pasture over to where it was just a direct straight line. It could have come over that fence and then and been right over there, because it had to have walked right in front of the old house from the direction that it was coming.
Okay.
And the front of the old house would have been dark, so we wouldn't necessarily have seen it. It only appeared when it was silhouetted with that light. And I saw it, clearly. And then it was when I said, "Oh my God, what is that?" Then she looked down there immediately and then saw the movement, and we were both like, no, we're going in the house. That's it."
Well, I asked because you were talking about the smell and then you were talking about the sighting. Cuz, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually you don't get any type of smell from these things unless they are agitated or trying to get you to back off. And I was wondering if maybe there was a toddler out there and a parent, and y'all were getting too close to the toddler and the parent was getting upset.
That's a reasonable assumption. I mean,
Yeah, because there's actually
go ahead. I'm sorry.
there's actually a lot of, since it was a dark night, we could have been within 20 feet of it and not seen it because it's that dark out here. And especially if it decided it wanted to scamper over to another set of trees that are a little bit further away, but in direct line of the old house.
Forrest,
it could have been.
Go ahead, Jessica.
So it could have been hiding up in those trees, and we would have never saw it since they are, with them being feeders, they're so bushy, you can't see anything unless it eye shine or something at night.
Right. Forrest, whenever you heard that noise in the brush, did it sound like the size of an adult or a small one?
Well, it sounded like something large. Because, Jessica, you remember when I got down there, I said, that wasn't deer that I heard up there. I said it was way too big to have been. It was like something moved away and went through the cedars, and we've got a lot of debris and stuff after that big storm we had. We got a lot of debris with limbs and stuff that are down. So when you step on those mesquite limbs, dried out mesquite limbs, and even the cedar limbs up there, it makes a lot of noise. And it wasn't deer, trampling through there. So, not unless there was like 30 or 40 of them going through at one time. It made a lot of noise, and that put me ill at ease right immediately. So we were really wanting to hurry up and get it done. I mean, both of us were. So, and you have no idea how dark it is out there. I mean, you can put a flashlight on it, and you really can't. You can see the brush with the light, but you really can't see into the brush with the light. That's what's so disturbing. I mean, something could be sitting in there watching you easily, and you'd never know it. Just
well,
like
these things are,
unless you had eye shine.
Yeah, they're dark and they're hairy, so they're going to blend in even if you got light right on them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know we have sent you pictures at dusk of how dark it gets underneath those cedar trees. So, with no light at all, hell, even with a flashlight, it's so dark you cannot see anything outside that little patch of light.
It's almost like it absorbs the light. It's really weird.
A lot of people say that.
We were.
But I know that night I called Chuck, and if you remember, Chuck, I said either I've got a bunch of damn juveniles running around out here, and probably babies too, or I've got little people running around. And Chuck, what did you tell me? The little people are worse than the Bigfoot.
That's exactly what I told you, and that's what most of the Native Americans say around here is that that is something you definitely don't want to get involved with because they are meaner and nastier than Bigfoot. But yeah, I remember when you called me that night, and the first thing that came to my mind was the fact of it possibly being the same juvie that you guys have seen once before, and the fact that it's coming around the cat buildings that you got there, and I think that's a big curiosity to the young ones, I think.
You know, I was thinking the same thing, Chuck, when I first heard this. I was like, oh, I hope it's not the little people. The voice of encouragement here.
Well, I mean,
Right.
there's been plenty of Bigfoot juveniles there, so I think you don't have to go to the other pathway there.
Well, let's hope not.
And folks, Tom's going to watermark a couple of the pictures from Forrest, and we'll put those on the JRG Bigfoot research page on Facebook so you can see them. We've had people asking, and we put pictures up when we get them from witnesses, so it's not always, we talk about things sometimes, but they're not always forthcoming with pictures, so we'll try to do that here when this show is posted. I was going to mention...
Hey, Forrest.
Go
ahead, Will.
I was just going to say about how dark it is, in that part of the country, or when there's no residual light. I was in New Mexico the past couple of weeks, southern New Mexico, and there aren't very many street lights in Las Cruces. In the downtown area, and the highways are, but when you get out in the residential areas, and I think it's because the locals just don't like street lights, it's dark as heck, and it even makes driving difficult sometimes, if you're not familiar with the areas.
Yeah, well, I have 3 pole lights, but I have 2 of them that are directly behind the house, and then the one down there by the barn. And Adam can tell you they were out here last night, and they couldn't believe how when we turned all of our lights off, how dark it was.
Adam sent me a text. He said you didn't see any, but they threw a rock at the house.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. They were leaving. I forgot about that. Darn. I thought, didn't I send you a text about that too?
I don't think so. Adam did. He was excited.
They were when Jessica and I sat out there because we were going to walk up and just double check. I told him how to latch the gate, and because he was coming back for the cameras the next morning, and I told him just to dummy lock the gate. But we decided that we'd wait till they left, and then we'd walk up the driveway and double check the that they'd latched it properly and everything. And so we're sitting there, Jessica and I are sitting there, and in the chairs underneath the oak tree by the driveway, and all of a sudden we hear this kaplat. And I looked at her, she looks at me, and I said, that was a rock. Somebody just threw a rock. And the thing was that Adam and them were still up at the gate. Remember that, Jessica? Because they were, I don't know, something happened because I could hear them all laughing up there about something.
I should mention first, for people who don't know who Adam is, Adam's a part of our field team, and he's he made the first film that we have coming out. If you want to see the information on that, go to creekdevil.com. It's on there. Anyway, he was at your house to interview you as part of the second film we have coming out, or that will be coming out. So, sorry, I didn't mean to break in there, but I had to. People are going to ask if I don't say who's Adam.
Well, no, that's a good explanation, because I didn't explain who he was either. But we could hear him up there kind of giggling and laughing about the, and then we could hear the chain rattling at the gate and everything. So we kind of were thinking that they were having some difficulty with the gate or something. But it was they were still here up at the top of the driveway. And of course you can't see them because of all the brush and everything that's past past my yard and everything. But I mean, here comes this, and Jessica was down there somewhere on the other end of the trailer. It wasn't near where we were sitting. It was on the other end of the trailer. So I don't know, and I don't know, Jessica, if you have an idea where it came from. It either came out of the woods from the other end of the trailer, or it came out from back there in the back. I have no idea. I mean, it obviously wasn't in the yard with us, but it went kerflat on the trailer. I'm like, we both kind of looked at each other, and I said, that was a rock.
Oh, Adam was excited. I mean, he sent me a text right away.
And I just thought, were they pissed because we had somebody out here different, you know?
That's possible.
It
Sure.
also could have been the time.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Well, you know, I've experienced that several times in the past. You know, down there at Honeby at the cabin, and I mean, we do know that they throw rocks.
You've got an unknown male presence out there that's going to set them off.
Well, yeah, well, Adam was here, and then his son was here, and his son's 18 years old. So, I mean, we had 2 males, and then his wife, and then us 2 females, and we had taken them all over there on the other side, and that the other thing that was peculiar, you know, I've been telling you guys that I haven't seen any deer on my property, and during hunting season, the deer always come to my property. And it's getting close to fall, and it's getting close to hunting season. We walked all the way over to the property line to the west of us, and then we went down that fence line, and we were looking at all that brush. And I suspect that that's where the rock came from, because there's rocks on the outer edge of the ground out there. But we walked all the way to that fence line. And I was spotlighting out there, actually on my neighbor's property, and all of a sudden, eyeballs everywhere, deer. I mean, bucks, does, everything out there. There must have been a half a dozen of them out there. And they were walking directly through their property. And those deer used to come through my property.
And then all the trails that we found in the cedars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we found trails everywhere out there, and yet you didn't see deer tracks, you didn't see hog tracks, and my horses, and where we were seeing trails, I don't have any horses, so there was no way that the horses had made these, and we were just like, what the heck? I mean, Adam was asking me, and I said, that's not horses. They're not doing that.
Especially since the fact that the way they're too low for the horses.
Yeah, horses.
We would have to bend down.
It would be pretty obvious, too, if any hoofed animals had made those trails.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
but
it was kind of spooky out there, to say the least.
Yeah. And the fact that we were there so late, they may have been pissed off, because we normally aren't out that late.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, here's another thing that I found interesting is it looks like a truck track or a car track. It looks like a truck track with some heavy tread on it had driven over your property. This thing is superimposed on top of that. So it came afterwards, which I found interesting.
Well, that heavy truck tread would have been Jessica's truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica, do you have any idea when you last drove your truck there? Because I don't know, this might help to pinpoint when this, because it looks like it just showed up right after, because it's the truck tread, say that twice fast, truck tread is very crisp and clear. The footprint is equally crisp and clear. And in this kind of soil condition, I would think that any amount of time goes along, wind or moisture or whatever, would make one or the other, kind of fade. But it's about the same time. It's almost like you got your secret observer, secret admirer right behind you.
Well, the creature definitely
Well,
walked.
you would have probably made that the night before, wouldn't you have, Jessica? Because she gets off at 10. She gets off earlier than I do. And you would have come in and parked right there.
Yeah. And depending on which track it is, it could have been when you were still here. So it could have been when I just pulled up and we went inside to do something, and we had to go out. Depending on which picture it is.
You know, it's interesting. I'm looking at that picture Tom's talking about. You can see all the cat footprints in the dust there, along with the tire tread, and then the Sasquatch footprint. And one thing I noticed is the Sasquatch track, and this is a juvenile, is actually, it appears deeper than the tire tread.
Yes, it does.
And there's a track facing the other direction too. You see the toes.
Yep.
So it looks like they kind of wandered around there.
Well, that particular morning that I found those, I had just let the cats out, and Jessica had actually pulled her truck up next to my car underneath the oak tree, and I don't remember, were we going to load something in your car there? I mean, the truck. I don't remember exactly why she pulled it up, had circled around and then pulled it up beside me. And I had walked through there myself, and that's why I now look down before I do any of that, because we had actually disturbed a few of the other ones that were a little bit lighter, but they were in a more rocky area there. And I actually was on the opposite side, and she started coming through, and I actually put my arm up and blocked her and said, "Stop, look." And that's when she looked down, and it was kind of like both of us had a "oh my gosh" moment, you know. And but the cats, of course, you know, we had 2 or 3 cats that had followed us up through there. They have to be involved in everything that we do, you know, and supervise us to make sure we're doing it right.
Of course.
And so they had already walked through there several times, so we kind of had smudged a few of them. But I tell you what, I don't do that anymore. As soon as I come off the back porch, I'm like looking at the ground.
You know, I had the date stamp I have on here is August 5th, so it's just a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were looking through that stuff because I couldn't remember when it was, and Jessica couldn't remember for sure when it was, and it was August 5th, and I think she had a couple of them earlier. Wasn't it the 26th of July, Jessica, that you had some that looked like little teeny tiny baby footprints, and they were at the back of her truck. So I wonder sometimes if they're not using her truck as a playpen.
Well, it's possible. I mean, you know, who knows what they're doing. Yeah, I'm looking at another picture here. There's 2 footprints, right? And again, one of them, the heels on the tread, the tire tread. There's actually a cat footprint in it, but the one track is facing another footprint. They're going in opposite directions, right close to each other. So they must have just kind of meandered around there.
Well, yeah, now I'm going to tell you what my thought on that is. Of course, I have no proof, but Dave, you remember when you sent me that outdoor alarm? Okay, we mounted it right there at the gate on the corner of the shed. And in fact, we had to change it to we'd had it running days and night, but we just finally changed it to night only because every time anything went by there, even during the day, it would go off. Well, and the cats will set it off too, but usually at night, my cats, the 4 that stay out here at the house, they go underneath the house, and they're pretty streetwise. So I think that alarm went off right there at that gate because there were no footprints inside the yard. They were just right outside, about probably 6 feet from that gate. And I think that alarm went off, and I think that's why they were all meandering around there. They didn't quite know what to do. That's what I think.
Yeah, that could very well be, sure. Especially younger ones, you know.
Okay, there hasn't really been any of the footprints inside the gate since we got that alarm.
That's right. Yeah, hadn't seen a thing inside the gate. Now, we do have to tell you something else that was weird. And I was picking up some stuff that I'd had some tubs that I had gotten out of storage, and I had them in the backyard and was cleaning them all off because we were packing stuff and everything. And we were gathering all that stuff up in the backyard yesterday before Adam and them got there. And I'm walking through the yard, and you remember the sunflower that had evidence that something had peed on it. And all of a sudden, I see these, and they were almost, Jessica, remember, they were almost these rocks. I should have took pictures. I can still take pictures of them because they're all, actually Adam did get pictures. They're all like they're together, but they're white caliche rocks. and they're all almost the same exact size. Now, I don't have any rock in my backyard, none whatsoever. And I'm picking up these tubs and getting ready to take them all in the house. And I look down, and I'm like going, where'd all these rocks come from? I'd already had seen the ones over by the sunflower, which is now dying, by the way. And I thought that was kind of peculiar because I was scratching my head where'd they come from. Well, they had to have come off the driveway over there because that's the only place I've got caliche. So, but I'm like walking through the backyard, they're picking up these tubs, and all of a sudden I'm looking down, and Jessica, you were doing something else, and when you walked up, I said, come here and look at these. I said, where in the heck did all these rocks come from? And dummy me, I've been looking at these rocks out there. And I turn it around and I'm looking because PEC had cut a driveway. I don't know, I guess is what you'd call it. Anyway, and cut some trees down and pushed them all down in the back, and then plowed up all this land. When they had dug up the hole for the pole that they'd put in back there, they had actually had pushed out a bunch of rock and stuff like that. So all down this driveway, the area that's on the opposite side of my fence, outside my fence, there's probably 2 and 3 inch quartz type rocks out there. And I'm looking at these rocks, and they're pretty rocks. They're like quartz rocks, and they're in the backyard now. And I asked Jessica, I said, where'd these rocks come from? Now, I know some people's dogs like to pick up rocks. My dog does not like to pick up rocks. She just picks up big sticks and tries to kill you with them when she runs around with them. You know, she picks up logs, like 6-foot logs, and then carries them around. And so I know the dog didn't do it. And that's when Jessica, tell him what you said to me, because Dummy here had not noticed this.
I had said that they're almost in a straight line. It literally looks like they were placed in a straight line about 2.5, 3 feet apart. Because they were pretty much.
That's in one of the pictures y'all took. There's a line of small pebbles. Cuz I think I showed you in a text. There's a line of small pebbles, maybe about 7 or 8, and they're in a perfect line, and you can see where they were drug across the ground and lined up. I'll try and find the picture and text it to you.
Okay.
Well, Adam ended up taking pictures of it because he thought it was kind of peculiar too. And I said, you know, I had not noticed this until I was out there picking up those tubs and taking in the house, and I was like, this is just beyond odd.
Well, I tell everybody.
She's correct. They're all evenly spaced. That's the other odd thing about it. They're evenly spaced. The distance between them.
I always tell people to take pictures of things if they are out of place. Like if it's something out of place or looks odd to you, I mean, it doesn't hurt to take a picture, because if it turns out it's, you know, something just normal or whatever, it's not a big deal to delete those pictures. But you never know. You know, when something, it's a puzzle piece that'll fit in maybe years later.
Yeah. Well, Adam thought that they were gifting us. I said, for what? And then I don't remember, was it his son that said the cats, you know, because we have those cats that disappeared.
I just sent all of y'all that pic.
Or they're collecting ammo.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. Well, that means that then they're coming into my backyard to have done that. And that's what I was like looking around on the ground back there to see if, you know, if I saw any footprints. I actually, at that point in time, when Jessica said they're in a line, oh my gosh, they're in a line. And I'm like, but you know, the ground back there, we've had such no rain in so long, and it's been so hot. Everything is just like cement around here.
Yeah, it wouldn't
So
be
I don't
like
think
water
I would
moving
have
them.
had footprints
Right.
back there.
And I was thinking they could use the the fence on the west side, all the trees that are right up by the fence, and get into this that way.
Let me ask this: where those rocks are, is that anywhere near the boundary that triggers any of those lights? You know, the motion sensor stuff.
Nope. No.
Hmm.
That's on the other side of the house. It's on the other side of the house. That's what. Yeah, that they wouldn't even.
Question, though.
That alarm wouldn't even be affecting them.
Yeah, Forrest, move that alarm around whenever you can, kind of keep them off guard.
Well, I think I'm going to leave that one where it is, and I think I'm going to maybe get me another one.
I can send you one if you want one.
Well, I think I would, and let's put it out there on the side of the kennel or something like that, and see if that doesn't produce some results.
I will do that.
See, and that's a very good indicator of what we say when you put those kind of things in place. If you're trying to keep the creatures at bay, these things do work.
Yeah, because I think if they are coming into the property, or into the yard, I think they're using the cedar trees that are right up by the fence and just hopping over to the ones that are in the inside fence and just climbing down them, because they can easily get that way.
Oh, they can. And here's something for all of our listeners out there, and that is the speed at which these things move is phenomenal. It is like the one that I saw, it was just incredibly fast. I heard the reports from people saying, well, I'd never seen anything move that fast. So they can go from spot to spot so quickly. You turn around and they could zip 10, 15 feet from one hiding spot to another right behind you, and you'd never know it.
See, I think that's what freaks people out the most is they see the size of these things, and then they see how quick they move, and they just can't handle it mentally.
Yeah, it's happened to me twice.
Well, I think that's a good indication that they've inherited that fast twitch muscles like your chimps and gorillas and most of your lower primates have. We don't have that. That's why our reaction time is far slower.
I can guarantee you I don't have it.
Well, I can guarantee you I don't either. I don't know about the rest of you.
The only thing that has that kind of speed when you see something like that is your bladder.
Yeah, I'll tell you what gets me going that fast is if I were to run into one of these things, then I got fast twitch muscles. Or fast twitch bladder, one of the two, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, heavens. Oh. Well, I hadn't had to grab me a pair of Depends yet, so but that may be coming. Well, it was kind of funny because now what Jessica was talking about, the cedar trees, and I don't know, I may get out there and get somebody to crank up that chainsaw, and we may just take some of those trees down over there near the fence. They are on the west side, and strangely enough, it's so thick over there on the other side. I actually had talked to a guy that runs those crews where they just bring in this machinery, and it literally it goes right through these trees, and it just grounds them up, and they're nothing but chips all over the ground. And they wanted $3,500 to do all that, and I just didn't have the money. I just didn't have the money to do that. Well, actually, that's pretty cheap for around here. Seriously, Tom, it is. But
you gotta be kidding.
Hey, Forrest.
No.
Adam was actually texting me right now. I was joking. I sent to Tom, and I forgot he was on the same text. We're talking about, Adam being there and his son and the rock being thrown as they were leaving. And I said, well, it was Adam's manly presence that upset the creatures. So he come on, and he says, my manly presence, and he was, chuckling. But he said to ask you about the brush pile that got flattened down and spread out.
Yes, that was peculiar because you know what, Jessica and I had not noticed that until we found the game camera, and both of us didn't really know how to react to it because we were walking, you know, after we found that game camera out there, and then we were walking down and around back there there is a light pole on that side. That's where PEC put that light pole, and they had pushed all this cedar and stuff back there up in one great big huge pile. And remember what I told you, Jessica? I turned around and I went, "Where'd the pile go?" And we were sitting there that night, and I went, "Where'd the pile go?" And I did find out Adam last night because, and tell him what you told him about. You used to be able to, when that pile was there, what you used to be able to do when I was in the hospital there.
Yeah, I used to actually be able to go around and walk around the pile. Because one of her cats, when it got out, it liked to go up front. But it only does that with me, not with her. So this cat would literally go up front and go into those cedar trees, and I'd actually have to go up there and start wandering the cedar trees trying to catch her. And I actually go in between the cedar trees and that pile to be able to catch her. But now I look over there and that pile is right up against the trees. It's like
it's been spread out. Well, it's like something took everything down. I mean, it used to be like 20 feet high, and it's now like maybe 4 feet high, and it's all spread all the way to the back. It's like something. It almost looks like something has spread it all out and made them a platform up there. And we just thought, I mean, I hadn't paid any attention to it. And I just thought, that night that we found that game camera, I thought, well, that is just weird. How did that happen? So, I mean, it took a bulldozer to put that darn pile up there. And then something just spread it all out. And I haven't had any bulldozers over here.
Adam said, he's texting me again. Where's he at here? Oh, I had a bunch of texts come in, so I lost it. Hold on a sec. Let me see. Oh. No, that wasn't him. There we are. He said, great history. Ask her about woolly boogers.
Oh, he was totally fascinated with my story about my daddy Tab and my mom Monk. We used to sit on the front porches because he was kind of fussing about the road noise. And I said, we didn't used to have that when I was a little girl. We could sit out on the front porch and listen to the whippoorwills across the pasture. And just clear as day at night, we could listen to the whippoorwills. Well, I was allowed to sit out there after dark with them on the front porch. But I think I've told you all this before, that when it got dark, I was told that I had to come in. I was not allowed to just hang out outside. So I was always told that we have the woolly boogers would get me. And now when I'd spend the summer with them when I was in grade school and junior high, I always thought, what a funny story. My granddaddy's so funny. Woolly boogers. What the heck are woolly boogers? And that's when he started telling me the story about the little girl that, I say little girl, I don't really remember how old she was, that got abducted by a woolly booger over in Marble Falls. And she was tending to a flock of goats and sheep, and it grabbed her, and I think when they found her, she was over somewhere in Blanco County, and it carried her a pretty good ways. And now the story that if you look it up online, that it tells you that the woolly booger was cornered in a cave and killed. Now, my daddy Tab, who was pretty good about telling the truth and getting his story straight, he always said, but, I was always his pumpkin tater. He called me pumpkin tater because I had, my hair was auburn. And Y'all don't know what a pumpkin tater is, do you? Does
Nope.
anybody know what a pumpkin tater is? Nope.
Nope.
Chuck,
Nope.
you're
Nope.
bound to know what a pumpkin tater is. Chuck, did you fall asleep?
Fill us in.
No, I'm here. No, I've never heard of that.
Are they good for eating?
Yeah, it's a sweet potato. Sweet potato.
Ah, okay.
It's called a
All right.
pumpkin tater. Well, anyway, that's what he called me because of my reddish hair. So anyway, but he was telling me the story, and he said, no, that woolly booger got away, that they didn't ever actually kill it. But during the 60s, he was kind of concerned because they were actually having sightings out by Buchanan Lake and Inks Lake out here because that's only like 8 miles from us as the crow flies. So he didn't like that. Yeah, they were having reported sightings out there of woolly boogers all the time out there by the lake. So, and of course, now this was long before all that has been built up. You know, I was telling Adam last night, Central Texas right now happens to be the fastest growing area in the United States. And frankly, we're kind of getting tired of it. You know, all you Yankees can go home and all you Californians can too. So, it's just, we're kind of getting tired of everybody coming out here and buying up all this ranch land and then divvying up and putting in subdivisions. So I think that I really kind of wonder if that doesn't have a lot to do with some of this activity again being pushed up, that they're going wherever they can find a little peace and quiet, maybe. I don't know. Less people. Y'all tell me.
Chuck, what did you have for us?
Oh, if we got time, I was going to tell you. It probably wouldn't be really quick, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a validation on my very first sighting, and this happened 8 years ago. And a buddy of mine called me and said, "Let's go out to that location, and let's just do a walkabout, and I'll interview you, and you can tell me what happened in your encounter and all that." And that's what we did. And I told him the account and everything else, and we flew a drone over the area, and we got ready to put all of our cameras and stuff in our equipment back in the car, and all of a sudden we noticed a pumper was coming up into the location. We thought, oh crap, we're fixing to get in trouble because, you know, this is oil field equipment, and we're out here taking pictures and all this. And he pulled his truck right up next to us, and he gets out of the truck and he says, "What are you guys doing?" And we were all just kind of quiet. We didn't know what to say. And he goes, "What are y'all looking for, Bigfoot?" And I think every one of us, the 4 of us that were there, I think every one of us, we had a mouthful of gravel because I think our mouth hit the dirt. And we told him, well, that's kind of what we're doing. And he said, all of a sudden he goes, "Well, I had something strange happen out here about 4 months ago." And I think all of us were just kind of looking at each other like, "You got to be kidding me. This doesn't ever kind of happen like this." And he said, "Yeah." He said, I was up on the gates in the tank up top, and he said it was probably about 6 o'clock in the morning, about the same time frame that I had my encounter 8 years earlier. And he said I was up there gauging the tanks, and he said back there in the back, and he pointed to the spot, the exact same spot where I actually had my sighting there. And he said it was right over there, and I kept hearing branches breaking. And he said it kind of bothered me a little bit, kind of freaked me out. And he said I went ahead and kept doing my job. And he said all of a sudden I started getting pebbles thrown at me on top of the tanks. And he said I've never had a sighting. I didn't have a sighting that day. He said, but something told me that it was time for me to leave. And it was a really amazing experience because it was the same location, the same spot that I had seen him 8 years prior to that. And it was just a really cool event. And, sometimes, that hardly ever happens when you have a person come to the same spot that you actually had a sighting and comes along with the story that, hey, there's a possibility that I had the same experience that you had here, without actually seeing one. So it was pretty cool to have somebody like that come out there and kind of validate what I had seen. So.
Well, Chuck, it is. And especially when he's the one who basically, he said, who's going to say this first? And he said it first. Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing.
So he actually let us do a video with him too. And so that was pretty cool. Ended up to be a pretty good day.
Well, Tom, you just sent me the picture with the little rocks lined up, and it looked like a doodle and with a stick or something, or maybe a finger in the dirt. Did you guys
and
see that?
I was looking at the series of lines to the right of that rock, the string of rocks.
Yeah.
It's almost perpendicular, and they're perfect. And I was like, well, it's like a little tiny rake did that, or something did that.
I had not noticed that before, and that is just weird. I mean, and there's a line running up to those rocks. Was that what you were talking about, Dave, or did you have another situation?
That's what I'm talking about. What I saw.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the one I circled in red?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had not noticed that. That is weird. It almost looks like a childlike doodle. I mean, like a kid doodling in the dirt.
Yeah, that's not natural.
Do y'all see that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really, there's just a lot of weird stuff going on here.
You're telling me.
But the rock throwing at Adam, I found that really, really curious. And was it what was the lighting conditions? Was it in the evening or was it daylight? What was?
What, you mean last night?
Yeah.
It was like they left here about 11:30.
Oh, at night?
At night, yeah. We had already walked the property with spotlights, and he was trying out the FLIR and everything. We had completely walked the property. I mean, it was, well, not completely. I mean, we weren't going out in the brush. I wouldn't even let them go out way out in the pasture because, I mean, now is not a good time to be doing that because even the snakes, it's too hot for the snakes to even come out during the day. They go out, they're out there hunting at night. So,
darn, I want to come out there. I like running into snakes. I love that.
Sure you do.
Rattlesnakes. I've done it before.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we walked all around the barn and all down and around, and we actually had seen something that appeared to be 3 kittens up in the tree. We were like, I had spied the eye shine up there, and then I saw 3 sets of eye shine, and we went over there, and I mean, they just like disappeared up in the tree. And I don't have any kittens, so I don't know if they were baby bobcats maybe or what they were, but they were.
Oh, really?
They looked very cat-like. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, we need to get you an iPhone 14 or something. They take incredible pictures.
But no, this was on the rock. It hit the west end of the mobile home, and I think Jessica, don't you think it was like the other end of the trailer there? I think that's where it hit. Because it was nice and loud. We were just kind of both sitting there going, "Oh, that was a rock."
Yeah.
Is that a first?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, normally we aren't out there at 11 o'clock at night.
How come?
Normally we're in the house.
That's, Jessica, I got dry humor, right? Why wouldn't you be out there 11 o'clock at night wandering around with rattlesnakes and Bigfoot and who knows what else.
Illegals.
Right.
I was like,
How bad can it be?
Well,
not bad. But not something you want to do.
Well,
Right.
guys, I hate to say it, but we are out of time.
we're having too much fun.
I know.
Yeah.
We should be doing that on Campfire Talk. So, for this show, we'll go ahead and end it here. Great stuff, guys. Jessica, Forrest, very interesting, fascinating stuff, and we'll have a couple of those footprint pictures up on the JRG Facebook page. So, everybody, thanks for stopping by, and join us next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at wjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out